It's hour number 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Sean Stiers, Trevor Trowbridge, and Bobby Hensley joins the Madhouse with us here as well.
Any house with you is a madhouse.
Here we go.
Good to see you, though, Trevor.
Here we go.
Bobby, it's always good to see you, brother. How you doing?
Doing all right. How about you? You just had an hour with Sean, right? That's got to be brutal.
Nah, man, it was great. Hey, I'm just here for good vibes. It's rivalry week, but I am happy to see you, though, Bobby. That sweatshirt brings out the color in your eyes.
Oh, wow. I'll just keep them closed then.
Everyone's fired up about rapid fire time. Fill in the blank. The importance of the Notre Dame Southern Cal rivalry is blank.
I mean, it can't be expressed enough. We talked about it on the Irish Breakdown show earlier today. I grew up with this rivalry, as did pretty much every other Notre Dame fan who's been watching this team since 1926. Yeah, I mean, this rivalry is, when you think of college football,
how many people are still around who were watching this in 1926.
Probably none on the podcast.
Any YouTube
viewers? Yeah. Probably nobody right now. But
I cut you off. Continue.
No, you're good. I mean, when you think of college football rivalries, this is, I guarantee, for a lot of people, one of the first 5 games that they talk about. You know, they probably talk about Michigan, Ohio State. They talk about the Iron Bowl. They talk about the Red River Shootout. You talk about Notre Dame-USC. It's the greatest intersectional rivalry in sports. I mean, it means a lot. They've played in so many great games over the years with championship implications. And even, look, it's one of the few rivalries that Notre Dame has where you throw out resume, your record coming into the game. It just doesn't matter. It's always high stakes when these two teams square off. It is so important to college football.
So like you say, to college football, so the intersectional part's what's key, right? Because that's when Notre Dame would get on the train, go out to California and play. It's bigger. Would you say it's bigger than the Michigan rivalry?
Yes.
Than the Notre Dame-Michigan rivalry?
Yes.
If Notre Dame, Michigan were being played every year, that would be one thing, but it's not.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. After the 2019 game, I looked and Notre Dame doesn't play Michigan again in the regular season until 2033. It stinks. But the fact that the Notre Dame-USC rivalry is about to go away is something I'm genuinely upset about. The Michigan one was just kind of like, that kind of stinks.
Well, I guess the Michigan one, we're kind of used to that, aren't we? Like, what's the longest stretch that they've played each other? There's not, enough data points in their rivalry even.
Well, in the early 2000s, they were basically playing each other every year. For a long time, they were playing each other every year. And I think that's why this one is so important, because especially for Notre Dame, all those other rivalries have been discontinued. You used to have Notre Dame playing Purdue and Michigan State every year. And then for a long stretch, there was Michigan every year. And then kind of in and out, there was Boston College every year. And now I always said that outside of USC and Michigan, all those other the rivalry air quote games meant more to the other teams than they meant to Notre Dame, because like every game can't be a rivalry for you. But when Notre Dame was playing USC and Michigan every year, which they were back in those Charlie Weiss and the early Brian Kelly years, and back to Tyrone Willingham and Bob Davie as well, both of those rivalries meant a lot. And I think you could make a case that maybe Michigan meant more, especially since all these rivalries become one-sided at some point. Right now, it's more tilted in Notre Dame's favor. There was a time when Pete Carroll was obviously around where it was more tilted in USC's favor. But I think that when you look at the 30,000-foot view and what it means to college football, we're losing too many rivalries. And this is one of the longest-running rivalries. Take out World War II in the COVID year, one of the longest-running rivalries in college football. And you need games like this. You need games like this to make college football, to help keep some uniqueness about college football. And it will absolutely be a shame if it goes away.
Well, it's like Trevor said, though, all the other rivalries that he named, if you're going to use those as the top 5, they're all regional. There's a reason recruiting stuff. There's always that little stuff. But then the Notre Dame-USC, you're across the country. It means so much because that's almost how college football evolved, was by Notre Dame taking the train and going out there. They've played Michigan 44 times. I mean, that's a rivalry, and obviously they don't like each other, and it's fun when they play each other. It's not the rivalry that USC is. So if they were to lose this rivalry, I think that'd be very sad. So to fill in the blank, I think it's important. I think that it matters because not only does the game matter because they both need to have good out of conference, games, but it just matters for college football as a whole. And you don't have a lot of that, and more of it's going away. Like Texas A&M was a big rivalry, the Nebraska-Colorado rivalry, and you keep losing all of these big
Nebraska,
ones.
Oklahoma. Yeah.
I mean, Iowa State, Iowa, they're in different conferences, so you can lose so many, quintessential matchups that matter, that just are fun to watch as a fan, and it hurts. So I think it's just important. Be my word for fill in the blank.
I just want to remind you then. The question was fill in the blank. The importance of the Notre Dame Southern Cal rivalry is blank. So you're saying the importance of the Notre Dame Southern Cal rivalry is important.
Well, I mean, I think you answered it in the question. I think it's needed. How about that?
Okay. The importance is needed.
Well,
okay.
This is why I like coming on with you,
it's
because
unrivaled.
You're just always so friendly.
It is.
I only,
Trevor, I want you to be the referee here. Who came in the door slinging rocks in this direction? See, Trevor's the younger brother right now. He doesn't want to step on anybody's toes.
The importance of the Notre Dame-USC rivalry. It is.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it's bad. But we went off a path so far that I thought that we needed. I don't know.
I'm surprised, Bobby. You never take anything off the path. Yeah. Joseph in the YouTube chat asked, where does this game rank in terms of importance for Marcus Freeman? You want to take a stab at that, Bobby? You want a second chance?
I think it's important, the importance that Marcus Freeman's going to. No, and honestly, we talked about this a few weeks ago and things have gotten better, because you asked, is there any chance by the end of the year Marcus Freeman could be on a hot seat? Based on stuff that we've seen at other colleges this year already, I think it's a 4 out of 10 important for Marcus Freeman to make sure he takes care of business, wins this, keeps them in the top 13, hopefully, maybe moving up, and their playoff hopes alive. I don't think he'll be on the hot seat the way things have turned around, but I do think it's at least somewhat important to him.
Like in the grand scheme of his career, I don't even know if I can put it in like the top 5, maybe top 10. But in terms of this season, it's extremely important. I mean, this is probably the last ranked opponent that you're going to face. This is potentially the last time that you play USC in the regular season. You got to make sure that Jules Shillelagh stays in South Bend for whenever until the next time you decide to beat them is. This season, the importance is like an 8 or a 9. Grand scheme of his career, it's like up there, but I can't say that this game is more important than, the first round of the playoffs, the quarterfinals of the playoffs, the semifinals, a national championship game, Ohio State in 2023. There's just a lot of different games that over the course of his career. But this season, it's extremely important.
I mean, for this season right now, it's a 10 out of 10 because every game is now at this point, because the next game you lose, you're not going to the playoffs now. And so in terms of chances to beat a ranked team, this obviously matters because this is likely to be the last ranked team you're going to face this year. Could end like you might see a lot of 500 teams the rest of the way at best. So what this game means a month from now, even if they win, there's still a lot to be told there because just like happens a lot of time, Notre Dame has beaten teams at the time that they're ranked, but they don't end up ranked, down the road. So USC might not be ranked a month from now. They might fall out of the rankings if they lose to Notre Dame and never be ranked again this season. But as of this week, right now, it's a 10 out of 10 for Marcus Freeman because his team has to win this game to get to the playoffs, and it's the last chance to make any kind of statement to pick up a quality win the rest of the season.
We talk about a statement. Sorry, Trevor.
No, you're good, man. I was just about to say, and it's from a football standpoint, it's the last real test that you're going to get, if we're being honest. I mean, Pitt might be able to do some things against you. Boston College is a train wreck. Syracuse is shades of itself ever since Steve Angeli got hurt. Navy's a different kind of threat, but if Notre Dame's going to make the postseason, there's not a whole lot they're going to see against Navy that's going to prepare them to play Alabama. So from a football standpoint, this is also extremely important because Mekhi Lemon is a good litmus test for your nickel corner and for your secondary. So is Jacoby Lane and Lake McCree and Tanuk Hines. And there's a lot of players that will give you a good gauge of where your secondary truly is at. You're not going to get that against, Boston College or Syracuse or definitely not
Navy.
Stanford.
Yeah, and definitely not Navy. No, plus this game that you're talking about, not only is it the last time you can see that, it's on national television, prime time. There's not a huge slate of games this weekend that's really appealing. So, Notre Dame's going to get a lot of eyeballs on them to see what they do against their rival, against a ranked USC team. I think it's important. And but a guy within the season over his overall coaching career are two different things to me. I think overall his coaching so far at Notre Dame, I don't think it's super important. That's why I put the number low.
Yeah, exactly. Like in terms
Trevor
of overall
said,
importance,
Trevor said, yeah.
Indy Forever 72 in the YouTube chat says not nearly as important as those 3 games he's played against his alma mater. His alma mater, of course, being Ohio State. Those were much more important. But for this season, this one has a lot of importance. And by the way, it just dawned on me that we were talking about rivalry and series going away and all that different stuff. And never once did any of us bring up Stanford, who, we've been trying to be sold on as some kind of rivalry. And it's probably going away as well. But no one is shedding many tears about the possibility that Stanford could go away. And who knows if it'll ever come back.
No, I mean, is it a rivalry when one side dominates by so much? That's always the question.
I mean, is it a rivalry? Question mark. Period. That's the real
it's not.
question. Yeah,
it's like when I used to play NCAA football. They always had the rivalries listed for every team, and every team had Notre Dame listed. It felt like, but Notre Dame only had a few: Michigan, USC, Purdue, and it's kind of the same thing with Stanford. It's not really a rivalry for Notre Dame. It was always a recruiting visit to go out there at the end of the year. And that the way they did it was every other year. Then in October, they'd allow Stanford almost to come get beat in October in Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, rivalry. It was a rivalry from 2010 to 2015. It was very short lived. It was a flash in the pan.
The Toby Gerhart era.
Yeah, basically
I still
the Jim
didn't
Harbaugh
consider it a rivalry. It was just a good team on Notre Dame's schedule that they happened to play.
Sure. Notre
Dame Stanford has just never had a true rivalry feel. I mean, ask the people in Palo Alto. They still couldn't pack the stadium, even when Notre Dame was out there and even when Stanford was good.
Well, it's like they said in the chat, though. Is Navy a rivalry?
Do we have to go down every road here?
No. I was just saying, I saw it in the chat. Someone said it. So
I mean, it's a rivalry, but it's a different kind of rivalry.
Play?
But it's also, as Trevor brought up earlier in the show, okay, it's the mutual respect game.
Exactly.
Now we've got to sing everybody's alma mater after the game. Let's just hate each other and try to bloody each other's nose. Like, does it need to be more than that? I don't think it does.
Sean, are you and I rivals?
We're something.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can live with that.
Elmer Layden in the chat says, how much does Chad Bowden's shade going to play a factor in Freeman trying to destroy Southern Cal? Marcus Freeman, Trevor, very artfully, dodged any Chad Bowden shade at his press conference when he talked about that. The question was more about recruiting. I don't think Chad Bowden, it's another layer to this because of the fact that Bowden was here and that he went to USC and he has thrown some shade around, but I don't think that him being there makes Marcus Freeman want to win this game any more than he already would. Do you
want him to win it anymore? No. Do I think it's going to dictate how they win this game? I do. Marcus Freeman has shown that he handles things in between the white lines and when there's still time left on the clock. And I could see this being a scenario where Marcus Freeman doesn't run up the score, but it puts it well enough in doubt where he's able to try to play some backups and really show Chad Bowden what it means to be a head coach that cares about recruiting. It's not his being there. It's some of his comments that he made afterwards.
Right. Exactly.
Is what I think is going to play a factor here.
It's always a weird look, too, when somebody leaves for your arch rival. Because, again, I'm not going down the road, Sean. But like to leave for that specific spot, you know what you're doing. There's got to be underlying, especially when you know the schedule is going to come. You know what's going to be on there next year. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you know what's coming in the near future. Maybe he did it on purpose to try to spark the rivalry again. But I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, you leave and then he talks about there's no place he'd rather be. And it's nice to, be with a head coach that values recruiting as much as Lincoln Riley.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, guy. Okay.
Yeah. It makes me question what his process was when he was here anyway. Good for you. Go away.
Fill in the blank, my friends. Notre Dame women's basketball player Hannah Hidalgo being named the ACC Preseason Player of the Year today is blank.
I would say well-deserved.
Okay.
She had a great year last year. She's
looking at the stunned looks on everyone's faces as I asked the question.
I always just let Trevor go first. I'm always ready to talk. You know that.
Go for it.
I think she had a great year last year. She's shown herself to be one of the biggest talents in the game. If you were to talk about the biggest stars of women's college basketball at this point, I think she's got to be up there. Juju's out for the year. Caitlin Clark's gone. Paige Beckers is gone. She's going to be the one that's going to have to put the game on her back. I think it's well-deserved. I think she's a star.
Yeah, I mean, I would say well-deserved as well. I mean, we're talking about a player in her career. I mean, she's averaged 23.8 points per game last season, 22.6 as a true freshman. Like, she's a dog. She is definitely a bucket. So I think it's very well-deserved.
I did my ACC ballot the other day. They send out the ballots. They sent them out last week, and we had to have them turned in by it's actually noon yesterday. I think I got mine in Sunday night. But she is not – Hidalgo is the obvious choice for Player of the Year. One, she won like the end-of-season Player of the Year as a sophomore last year. So, I mean, she's the obvious front runner this year. But what struck me in doing my ballot, because they give you this list of all the potential players that you can vote for, they narrow it down. Each team nominates who they think could be a candidate. What struck me is the gap between Hannah Hidalgo and the next closest player behind her. There is no competition going into the season for Player of the Year because Zoe Brooks from NC State ended up getting the second most votes. She was first team all ACC last year, but Hidalgo was Player of the Year, which means she got the most votes. Zoe Brooks was number 11 on the list. That means players 2 through 10 all gone this year. So there is a pretty wide gap between Hannah Hidalgo and Zoe Brooks at number 2 as the runner-up for Player of the Year going into the season. And that matters because a lot of people are rightfully wondering, well, how good is Notre Dame going to be this year, especially on the national scene. But I think when you look at the conference race itself, Notre Dame's got the best player in the conference. The gap between the best player and number 2 is very wide going into the season. It's like the gap between NFL and ACC officiating, quite honestly. Notre Dame's picked to finish 5th in the ACC going into the season by the same people who voted for Player of the Year. And I think that Notre Dame is going to outperform that, even though, they didn't add all these high-profile players in the transfer portal and that kind of thing. I think they're going to outperform that 5th place pick because you've got far and away the best player in the conference in Hannah Hidalgo going into the season.
Yeah, so I guess you're asking what importance or how much does your star player carry you when she's that caliber is what you're saying, because they're 15. The AP poll came out today and they were 15th. So do you think that's fair? Do you think they should be higher, lower? Because all we really know about this whole team is that she's really, really good, and we have a bunch of new players around her to see how they all gel together.
Right. And, again, part of my point is, look, we looked at the turnover that this Notre Dame women's basketball team had. You lose Olivia Miles. You lose Sonia Citron. You lose Maddie Westbeld. Well, again, look at all the other top teams in the ACC from a year ago. They've obviously lost a lot as well. All of the rest of the best players in the conference, they're all gone. And so, again, Zoe Brooks is a good player for NC State, but she is not Hannah Hidalgo, and she's not a lot of these other players, who are also gone. And Robin is asking if the women can challenge for the ACC this year. I absolutely think that they'll be able to because of what I'm talking about. You've got far and away the best player in the conference. There's a good supporting cast around her. Again, it's not Miles and Citron, but I think a lot of these players, as this season goes on, they're going to grow into their roles. They're going to continue to focus on defense. They're going to continue to focus on running. And Hannah Hidalgo's ultimately, I'll be shocked if she doesn't average around 30 points a game this year. And, she's the ACC's defensive player of the year the last 2 years as well. And so I absolutely think that they're going to be able to challenge for the ACC regular season this year.
It's interesting to me that they're ahead of TCU in the polls, which is fun to see by 2 spots because of Olivia Miles' transfer location. But we'll find out pretty early in the year when they play Michigan in the non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Sean, do you think that the women's basketball team, do you think they could benefit a little bit from the addition by subtraction? Because the caveat to having so many stars on your team, like with a Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles and a Maddie Westbeld and a Sonia Citron, is a lot of mouths to feed and keep happy. So do you think that they can benefit a little bit from addition by subtraction? It's never good to lose a talented player, but flow of the offense, do you think it could be a little bit better?
I'm really curious to see what the flow of the offense is going to look like this year, because even though Hannah is obviously a point guard, she is, she's more Allen Iverson than John Stockton, she's looking to score, just as much, if not more so, she can run the offense, but this offense is going to look a lot because you don't have Citron and Westbeld for one thing, because like her first season, she didn't have Olivia Miles as well. I understand what you're asking, but that's a lot of talent to lose,
That's a lot of subtraction.
Yeah. That's like a little, I think you could make that case because of, maybe an obvious personality, difference, with those 2 players that was, pretty widely blown up in the offseason. You can make a case with that, but Sonia Citron, she deserved to be the rookie of the year in the WNBA, even though she wasn't the rookie of the year in the WNBA, because honestly, her name just wasn't big enough coming out of here, because, she was more than willing to kind of play second or third fiddle.
Well, if she had gone Jennifer Hudson, maybe she could have got rookie of the year. Citron deserved it for sure. She definitely came out hot in the WNBA, and you look at that and you look back at her college career, she just wasn't the dominant personality, but she was good on the court. Maybe even the number 2 on the team, you would say.
Fill in the blank. Tyler Buckner's fake punt 4th down conversion against NC State was blank.
That was cool. I mean, look, I'm going to say something that's probably not going to land.
The ever impressed Trevor Trowbridge.
Yep.
He is cool. Trevor's cool.
I do what I can. I'm trying to be like Bobby. Look.
Oh, wow. That's fine.
And Sean, I'm trying to be like both. Oh, boy. Yeah. I'm backing myself into a corner here.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Look. I'm going to say something that is probably not going to be as popular with some people, but I think that there is still a portion of Notre Dame's fan base that remembers Tyler Buckner for who he was in 2022, 2021. And to a degree, I understand that. Is it cool? Sure. But I get so many questions. We get so many questions on Irish Breakdown about, is there going to be a Tyler Buckner package? Is he going to be the emergency quarterback? Is Tyler Buckner going to do this? Can Tyler Buckner do that? And it's like, look, man, respectfully, he left. He transferred out. He came back, took his lumps, and I'm happy to see that they found a role for him on this team. But anytime he does something remotely impactful, I'm not going to jump out of my chair for joy. That's just not me. Was it cool? Yeah, it was a cool fake punt. But, that's not going to then lead me to and now there has to be a Tyler Buckner package on 4th down, and there should be one on the goal line, and they should have a 2-minute package for him just in case they want to run the ball more. It was cool.
See, I go back and forth. It's a nice moment, but is it redemption because of that failed extra point, or is it a finale? Because this is probably the last time he makes a statement this season. Because like what you said, why would you have a package for him? He's not on the depth chart, really. They're set at quarterback. They don't need him. He's a special teams player. to even talk about a special teams player, it's almost, Trevor kind of went, he said, oh, remember, yeah, we remember him for his potential, but he never lived up to it. That's why he left. Coming back and taking his lumps, that's nice. It's a nice moment, but it's redemption from the extra point, but a nice finale because that's hopefully the last time we're talking about him this season.
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be the last time we're talking about him this season. I don't think it needs to be. I mean, but this is the kind of role he can have, because a few weeks ago, Gino Guidugli was asked about Buckner splitting his time, with the quarterbacks at practice and being over there with the special teams. And what he said was he spends most of his time with the special teams, doing stuff with them. And that's a great place for him because of what Trevor said. Like, you should not expect any more from Tyler Buckner than this kind of stuff. Maybe he pops up from time to time as a guy who can do this kind of thing, run a fake, or, he's the holder on special teams. Maybe he pops up, throws a little pass, again, a fake type thing. It lets Gino Guidugli get creative because you've got a great athlete back there as your holder. And he can also, by the way, he can run for a first down every now and then. He maybe can throw you something every now and then, but don't expect any more than that. Like this kind of stuff, like if there's a Tyler Buckner package, this is it. It's being a guy who can run a fake or two, because he used to be a scholarship quarterback a few years back, but that's not what he is now. He's a walk-on quarterback who is an emergency quarterback. He's not going to go out there and do anything more than that at this point in his career. And that's great. So I'm glad that he got a little bit of redemption because of what happened earlier in the season. Just stay locked in and focused on catching that ball and putting it down. Catch the placement, put it down, let the kicker kick the field goal in the extra point.
Cowboys never had a problem with that in the playoffs.
Oh no, never.
No, it's nice to
and
have
he wasn't compared to Tony Romo at all when that happened.
It's nice that they have an athlete back there, but depending on the situation, if you're going to do a fourth down play or do some play that you want yards, I'd still rather have the A team out there or have a different holder. Maybe you could train Menchie in it. I don't know, but it's nice that he had that moment to redemption.
Marcus Tenman in the YouTube chat, started talking about some Notre Dame men's basketball. He said, Shrews is not the answer. Trevor covers the men's side more than I do. I mean, this is year 3 now for Micah Shrewsberry, and he's got a great recruiting class. He's got obviously some experience, but you've taken some lumps the first couple of years. This is the year we're really truly going to find out about what Micah Shrewsberry has to offer for Notre Dame men's basketball, I think. Don't you, Trevor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the first top 10 recruiting class that Notre Dame has brought in basketball in the last 20 years. I mean, this is a really good recruiting class. And look, let's not forget the situation that he took over was terrible. I mean, you had JJ Starling transferred out, after Mike Bray stepped away from the program, was asked to leave, whatever, how that went down. And then at some point, you also have to look at, look, sometimes it is about the Jimmies and the Joes, especially with college basketball. And I look at that team last year, and it's your number one scorer on the team is 5'11", and his strength was finishing at the rim. There's just some things that you can't just chalk up to, oh, he's not the answer, coach. I'm not saying he is the definitive answer. We're going to find out a lot this year. You bring in Jalen Harrelson and Ryder Frost. You made some impact pickups in the transfer portal. Marcus Burton comes back. So all the signs are pointing in that direction. But look, Notre Dame can't be in a spot to where they're starting guy Matt Alaco can't be your primary number 3 guard.
Exactly.
He's a great complementary piece, but he's somebody that needs to come off the bench and provide that spark and play great defense and knock down a couple threes and then jog right back off the court once Jalen Harrelson or players like that kind of get a breather. He can't be Notre Dame's basketball season's in trouble because, Matt Alaco is hurt. And that's the situation they were in the last couple seasons. And so,
Okay, then what do you expect for Shrewsberry to have a successful year? Where do they need to finish in the ACC?
They need to make a run in the ACC tournament and be a bubble team.
Yeah, I think if you're 500 in the ACC and you make a little run, like Trevor said, in the ACC tournament, they're an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah.
And that's good for Shrewsberry. I'm saying that would be a successful year to build on.
Get to the tournament this year. That's a successful season. And I think that
they're capable is what you're
very
saying.
Minimally have to be very, very minimally have to be on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. But our eyeballs are going to tell us, like this needs to be a season where they make a considerable leap, because like Trevor talked about, you've got Jalen Harrelson coming in and you add him to Marcus Burton, and Braden Shrewsberry is now a junior along with Burton. It should look a lot different because there's going to be a lot more talent on this team. He had to cobble together a team in his first season, like with what he was stuck with and what he went out and got, what he was able to go out and do right away. Like I think we all expected that last year was going to be at least a little bit more successful than what it was. But now, again, he's got a great balance of young talent coming in the door, starting with Harrelson and some veteran guys who have been in the program for a few years. So there needs to be a considerable step up this year. I think he knows that. I think everybody watching it expects that.
Right. And it's important that they're capable of it with all the talent they're bringing in. If you were already a bubble team last year, you would expect even more this year. So it's kind of interesting to see what will happen.
So both Marcus Freeman and Al Golden's names have come up as options to replace James Franklin at Penn State. Which of those two is a more realistic option for that job?
I mean, between the two, like I guess Al Golden, and you can put him in the same conversation as Coach Klein from The Waterboy and Jimmy McGinty from The Replacements and Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights. I mean, look, man, Al Golden left Notre Dame to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, 1, to get back to the NFL, and 2, to move back closer to his family. Like during his entire time at Notre Dame, his family still lived in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And with all due respect, as much as Penn State fans don't want to hear this, Marcus Freeman's not going to Happy Valley. That'd be a step back. I said what I said. And so I just don't understand. Look, any major
there are
coaching,
a lot of other, quote, like big time air quote programs where it would be a step back from what he's got at Notre Dame.
Right? Yeah.
Because he has a lot of things working in his favor here at Notre Dame.
Yeah, the only place I could see him going would be Ohio State, and that's not going to be open for him. Al Golden, I think that's nice. He has a Penn State tie. He doesn't have a long time in Cincinnati, so I guess if it's between those two, you have to pick him. But, I mean, Matt Rule's probably going to be the guy that ends up taking it, so I don't think it's going to be Freeman or Golden going either.
Well, there's a good chance he's going to be offered it. The question will be, does he take it? I think that there's a lot more steps, but
it's interesting what Trevor said too. Like, what is the importance of the Penn State job? Where does that rank nationally as a lucrative job that people want to go to?
I think it's still a high profile job. I think it's still a very desired job. It's, like there are a lot of benefits to being the head coach at Penn State. I mean, just look at what James Franklin did. James Franklin won a lot of football games at Penn State, and he put Penn State back on the map after it fell off the map with, in the post-Paterno-Sandusky scandal. Like, that was not a very desired job. I do think James Franklin has made it a very desirable job again. The problem is, obviously, he couldn't win the big enough games. He won 1 million games that he was supposed to win. He won a lot of games, virtually all of the games that he was not favored in. And at the end of the day, he finished by losing games that he was supposed to win. And when you have a clash with your boss, that obviously doesn't curry much favor, and he was shown the door. But I think it is a very desirable job still, because there are a lot of resources that are going into the Penn State football program that aren't going into some other places. Like between USC and Penn State has invested a lot more in their football program in recent years than USC, and USC finally recognized that, and they're trying to play catch up now to get to where Penn State is, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I look at it from a resume standpoint, because the stuff that unfolded, and it's not all like, and it's not all alike. But James Franklin to Penn State is what Brian Kelly was to Notre Dame. I mean,
exactly.
Notre Dame coming out of the Charlie Weiss era was just in a bad way. And in 3 years, Brian Kelly, had him playing for a national championship game. He helped update the facilities and all those things. But then Marcus Freeman is the one that really took it off. And so Penn State's going to look for some type of hire in that way. The thing that I always have to remind people, because anytime there's a big time coach opening, whether it's the NFL or whether it's somewhere in college football, Marcus Freeman's name always gets brought up. Why? Because it attracts clicks to whatever articles are written. Like, it's not going to draw a whole lot of clicks.
It attracts clicks, but he is also a very desirable. Like, I think Marcus Freeman's name is going to come up with every high-profile job that comes open.
Oh, 100%. Just like Nick Saban's name will be. Just like Urban Meyer's name will be. Just like, there's very few coaches that don't get brought up in that ring. And it's, Kirby Smart's never brought up for those, but it's because of what he's done at Georgia. I mean, it's one of those things that I just always expect to happen and don't put too much weight into, I guess.
Yeah, it's like John Gruden's name gets brought up still
Yeah.
from time to time. It's just for clicks. Which a more desirable job, though, if it were to become available, Penn State or Florida State? Because they're both kind of like where you're talking about Notre Dame being a few years ago. I think that they're both a tier down than they used to be.
I think right now they're kind of on the same level. I think that they're still both
Equity in
desirable
both.
jobs, but they're not Ohio State, they're not Alabama, they're not Texas, they're not Notre Dame. I think that they're not even Georgia at this point. And I would honestly put Clemson probably about on the same level as them. Has Clemson won a national championship more recently? Yes, but Penn State, Clemson, Tallahassee, Florida State, in terms of where they are in proximity to big cities and, what's close by and all that kind of stuff, they're all relatively the same. And in terms of facilities and things like that, I know Penn State has got a major facility upgrade going on right now. I'm not sure what's going on at the other two. So I think that they're all fairly similar.
Yeah. Penn State, it's just so tough because they've kind of been the little brother in the Big Ten for so long. And their last national championship was 2 years before Notre Dame's. At least Florida State won one in 2013, but Penn State made the playoffs last year, lost to the comparable team that they played. But I don't think Penn State is a tier one attractive job, but to Sean's point, I do think it is significantly more attractive than what it was when James Franklin took it over.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Big Ten, it's Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Like, those are the three flagship programs of the Big Ten. I guess maybe you
Oregon.
can put – I was getting ready to say you can put Oregon in there as well, but what has Oregon ultimately done that Penn State hasn't? Like, they played each other. Like, I guess you can say they won a Big Ten championship, but what – yeah, but what did that matter? Like, they both went to the college football playoff. Neither one of them – like Penn State advanced just as far as Oregon last year. That's part of the benefit of the 12-team playoff. I mean, I realize you don't like Penn State, Trevor, but you can't deny in terms of the national landscape what they are right now.
I mean, I guess I'm questioning it. I don't think that I just know they're not tier one, but I'd put USC above them, Oregon above them as attractive jobs if they were available. I just think they're a nice top 25 team because they have not proven to be better than some of the teams that are in them. Look how IU's passed them in the Big Ten the last couple of years. I know it's a short time period, but Cignetti has more wins against high-ranked teams than Franklin did at Penn State.
We got 1 minute, so I'm going to let Trevor finish with any thoughts that he wants to hit before we got.
Yeah, I mean, am I Penn State's biggest fan? No, but it's also not to discredit. Their resume is not impressive. It's like you get 10 wins a season, but neither of those wins came against Ohio State or Michigan.
Right. But again, the resume is also, as you said, and I completely agree with, it's also not that different than what Brian Kelly's resume was when he was at Notre Dame. So I think if you're Penn State, you're thinking, like Notre Dame, you get the right guy that takes you to the next level, like actually competing in those games against other top teams and winning those games.
100%
championships. All right, we got to wrap it up with that. I wish we had more time, but we won't. We will, the three of us, reconvene on Thursday. We've got Wake Up the Echoes coming up next here on WSBT. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.